Eric Richins coached his kids' soccer team on weekends. He knew his boys' teachers by name, showed up to school events, and according to people who knew him well, had a quality that is genuinely rare. He made whoever he was talking to feel like the conversation mattered. At the sentencing hearing in May 2026, his father, Gene, stood in front of a Summit County courtroom.
Your Honor, my name is Gene Richins. I'm Eric's father. No parent should ever have to bury their child.
And tried to put that into words. Gene Richins is not a man who reaches for sentiment easily. He spoke in careful sentences, the way people speak when they are concentrating on not falling apart. And what he said was that Eric was a light, not just to his 3 sons, but to the parents on the soccer sideline, to the people he worked with every day. That detail stayed in the room. Eric was 39 years old. He lived with his wife, Kouri, and their 3 boys near Park City, Utah, in a house in one of the wealthiest areas of the state. On the morning of March 4th, 2022, he was found dead in bed. No signs of trauma, no evidence of forced entry, nothing to indicate that anything violent had occurred. First responders treated it as an unexplained death-pending autopsy, the kind of outcome that, in the absence of obvious cause, gets processed as a possible cardiac event and moved through the system quietly. Kouri Richins was 33 at the time.
What's going on?
I don't know. Something's wrong with Eric. The police have girls are here. It's like, I don't know what's happening. He wasn't breathing. I don't know.
Who?
Eric. I'm sorry.
No, it's all natural, okay? Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
She was a licensed real estate agent, active in her church and visible on social media in the ordinary way of people in her community. Family photos, vacations, the documented surface of a suburban life. What that surface didn't show, her home flipping business had been bleeding money for months. She had accumulated debts she couldn't service. And at some point before Eric's death, without his knowledge, she had taken out several life insurance policies on him. The combined value ran into the millions. She had also been in sustained contact with another man. The text messages between them, which prosecutors read into the court record during trial, were not ambiguous. She wanted out of the marriage. She was making plans. Prosecutors argued that at some point those plans changed in nature. The first attempt was Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022. Kouri made Eric a sandwich. According to the prosecution, she had put fentanyl in it. Eric ate it and within hours called 2 of his close friends to tell them he thought he was dying. He described his body shutting down. Both calls were alarming enough that the people on the other end remembered them clearly enough to testify about them years later. Eric survived. No medical evaluation was documented, and for reasons that will never be fully known, he did not report what had happened. He went back to his life, the boys, the soccer coaching, the house near Park City. The life insurance policy had gone into effect 10 days before that sandwich. 3 weeks later, on the evening of March 3rd, Kouri handed Eric a Moscow Mule. It was his preferred drink. Investigators established through testimony from 2 separate individuals that Kouri had sourced the fentanyl by asking for what she called the Michael Jackson drug, a loose reference she used, prosecutors argued, to communicate that she wanted something capable of stopping a person from waking up. The dose in Eric's drink was nearly 5 times the concentration considered lethal for an adult. Forensic testimony at trial was specific on this point. No accidental or incidental exposure scenario produces numbers like that. The amount was deliberate, and it was sufficient. Eric went to bed. He did not wake up.
In a forensic autopsy, we also describe like the clothing, any identifying features like the color of the eyes, any tattoos, anything like that, because we need to know who the person is as well as why they died.
The autopsy flagged the fentanyl concentration immediately. Medical examiners ruled the death a homicide.
In cases of potential drug overdose, it is not unusual for opiate overdoses specifically to have pulmonary edema. So you've got foaming of the mouth coming from the lungs,
and investigators obtained a warrant for Kouri's phone. What they recovered there was not ambiguous either. Her search history included queries about the lethal dose of fentanyl, about how poisoning appears on an autopsy report, and about which federal prisons offer better conditions for inmates. She had been working through contingencies. The scenario in which she was caught and convicted had occurred to her, and she had researched it. In the weeks after Eric's death, Kouri collected on the life insurance policies. She continued her real estate work. She continued the relationship with her boyfriend. She gave public statements about grief and about the difficulty of raising 3 boys alone. And she began working on a children's book, a short illustrated title about losing a parent, were written, she said in interviews, to help children process loss. She promoted it. She spoke in those interviews about what it meant to lose Eric, about the pain of it, about wanting to do something useful with that pain.
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year, so it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us.
The children the book was written for were her sons. The father they were grieving was the man she had poisoned. Eric's family did not wait for law enforcement to build a case. They hired a private investigator shortly after Eric's death because something about the circumstances didn't sit right with them. That investigator's work eventually reached prosecutors, and it helped pull together what the formal investigation was also finding: the text messages, the 2 fentanyl purchases traced back to Kouri, the insurance policies, the phone search history, and the documented account of what Eric told his friends had happened to him on Valentine's Day. Kouri Richins was arrested and charged attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. The trial ran 13 days. Prosecutors called more than 40 witnesses: Eric's family members, the individuals who had sold Kouri the fentanyl, her boyfriend, the private investigator. Kouri did not testify. Her defense team called no witnesses and closed by arguing the state had not proven its case beyond reasonable doubt. The jury took less than 3 hours, guilty on all 5 counts. Sentencing was set for May 13, 2026. Eric Richins would have turned 44 years old that day. The hearing was long. Gene Richins spoke again about his son, about the soccer team, about the huddle. They still break the same way after every game.
Eric had a very, very fun-loving personality. He had a very likable personality.
He told the court that his son's life was taken through deliberate, calculated actions driven by financial greed and the desire to be elsewhere with someone else. Eric's sister spoke. Several of his friends spoke. His 3 sons had each written a letter to the court, and those letters were read aloud in the courtroom. Their exact contents were not made public.
I woke up to sirens, and there were a lot of people at my house, and I was definitely scared. I felt confused. I was in a bedroom with my brothers, and I didn't know what was happening.
People present that morning later described the room going quiet in a way that was difficult to put into words. When Kouri addressed the court, she spoke directly to her children. She told them she knew they didn't want to hear from her. She told them she knew they hated her. Her closing words to them: "When you are ready, I will be here for you."
You may think you hate me, and that's okay. I will never be angry at you for your feelings. When the day comes that you're ready, I will be here for you.
Judge Richard Mrazek had presided over the case from the beginning. Before pronouncing sentence, he spoke about the 3 boys, not just as they are now, but as they would be in 20 years, in 30, as grown men who had built their adult lives around the knowledge of what happened to their father. He said he had thought about what it would mean to them to know the court had or hadn't acted with the full weight that the case required. He said Kouri Richins is simply too dangerous to ever be free, life in prison without the possibility of parole. Kouri Richins turned to her defense attorney and raised her eyebrows as the sentence was read into the record. There is a version of this story that treats the verdict and the sentence as endpoints, as the system working the way it is supposed to work. In a narrow sense, they are. But the private investigator who kept pushing when this could have been filed away as an unexplained death gets little attention in most accounts of the case. The 3 boys are still growing up, now without their father and with their mother in prison. And the children's book is still out there, still findable. It was published while Kouri was living on the insurance payout from Eric's death, after she had already attempted to poison him once on Valentine's Day and succeeded 3 weeks later. She gave interviews promoting it. She spoke about grief. She described what it was like to lose someone you loved. That is the part of this case that a conviction and a sentencing can't resolve. Not the planning, not the fentanyl, not even the search history on her phone. It's the book. The decision, after all of it, to write something careful and tender about loss, put her name on the cover, and go on record talking about it. Kouri Richins is 35 years old. She will die in a Utah state prison. Eric's soccer team still breaks the huddle the way he taught them. 1, 2, 3. Eric.